There's a part of the Bible that I have not studied enough in this life, for sure. In Genesis, when Abraham is about to take the land of Canaan, I think. In fact, the context of the story is somewhat irrelevant. And maybe it's just the fact that I'm getting over a horrible migraine headache at the moment. But I'm not remembering it with specificity. I'm remembering mostly the reason why it stood out. And I suppose it's something that stuck with me my whole life. That really, I thought other people heard. I thought other people, like, more than one per country, learned the lesson. The one per country reference to my lovely new viewer is it's become sort of a channel cliche. I have a Dutch viewer, an Irish viewer, an Australian viewer, a Latin American viewer, and a Spanish viewer. And of course the Russian trolls. But despite the single video with close to 100,000 views I had that was about Louisiana itself flooding, the only people that watch this channel locally are friends of mine who get links directly or make a point of checking the channel a couple times a week. But anyways, the lesson that I think more people should have learned but didn't it's how Abraham, I believe Abraham, could have been Joshua, he faced a similar situation, might have done the same thing. Just an overlapping memory of mine conflicting with the story that I read. But anyways. He takes all the men to the river to have a drink. And he tells his captains, see all the men that are bringing their hand to the water so that they can stay upright and alert while they drink. But then how the others plunge their faces into the water and care not about their surroundings. Take only those men who have not lowered their eyes. We do not need the rest. And then he defeated an army of 5,000 with 300 men. In fact, the original text may say 50,000, but that has been debated and surrendered. There's a few places in that, especially with the in Exodus, where the number is 2 million. People say, no, it had to be more like 200,000. But in fact, there's an even more obscure text that says 20 million. Imagine that. Hard to imagine. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. People of this day can't even imagine the agricultural efficiency that existed 3,000 years ago. In fact, the civilization that existed 3,000 to 5,000 years ago was more societally advanced, not technologically advanced, but societally advanced. A remarkable level of efficiency. All burnt to nothingness. And today we have a situation where clearly too many people have been thirsting and seeking nourishment, trying to find the water that they can drink, and wound up with their faces in the mud. Because instead of reaching their hand down to the water and cautiously taking, while staying aware of their surroundings, they have blinded themselves as more naive than ancient children would find acceptable. They say, aha, here's the water, let's drink. Stick your face right in. Lap it up. But a couple people, just a couple of people, knew where they were, knew what was going on around them, and they found the different little rabbit holes filled with water on the internet. And yeah, they drank, but they kept their eyes up. They stayed alert. They drank one handful at a time. And because they kept their eyes up, they wound up seeing something wasn't right. Something might even be wrong with this water. And just a couple of them managed to find this channel. And I pulled them right the fuck out of the water hole. I dug them out of all the false rabbit holes that they had surrounded themselves with, even as they tried to stay alert. And these few people that have been watching this channel, that have been tolerating my horrible jokes and horrible, horrible production quality, the truth that they know can defeat any army. Welcome to Lost Begotten Channel.
In my heart and baby down in my soul. You, baby, you can't take it no more. No, I know I'm walking out that door the way you treated me too many times before. Oh, you know I want you there, I wanna be right there with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side today I die. 'Cause baby, ecstasy is in my hand. Oh, when I'm holding yours in mine and walking in the sand. Oh, baby, you know it's fine. Oh, now you done and piss me off. You ain't done something you shouldn't have done. Baby, I'm mad. I'm going on. Oh, I'm going on. I can't take it, baby. I can't take it no more.
Dee da dee da dee do do. Dee da dee dee do. That window's not supposed to be open. There we go, that's a little better. And even better. So, I had a headache this big, but I took 2 Tylenol and an aspirin and another Tylenol and another aspirin and had fucking cup and a half of coffee. So it's almost better. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. If it's your birthday, I hope you're having a wonderful birthday. And welcome back to the Lost Begotten channel, where we are discussing stuff and things, and things and stuff that most people just don't seem to get. So I ask for any new viewers to bear with me as I don't put any effort at all into not being condescending, because if you were me, you would feel like you were surrounded by morons too. And in fact, I'm sure many people who watch this channel do feel like they're surrounded by morons. And I regret to inform you that I'm probably going to make it worse. Because what I'll do here on this channel is make you even smarter. Smarterer than everybody else. Yeah. I think a good topic of today would be something I was just getting into the tweetosphere about. What do you call Twitter? I mean, just the last resort social media platform, because everything else is fucking gone. We don't have AOL or Yahoo or MSN anymore. We don't have shit anymore. We've got 2 companies that are basically infused by Russia and ran by Russian agents. I mean, so what if Microsoft owns a little bit of them? They don't own enough of them. Like, it really doesn't matter. Once you get a pattern established, you really need to consider defending your country. That's just my premise. And when you have Mark Zuckerberg getting offered a lot of money by Microsoft and not even willing to negotiate before Facebook was worth anything, as if he knew the Russian money was going to come. You know? And you've got a consistent pattern of rearranging algorithms to suit Russia after Russia began its invasion of Ukraine. Plain and simple. And one thing it has definitely done is promoted what, to me, as a very experienced exorcist, is the most clear sign of demon possession you can have. Okay, they are literally promoting this. Okay, and that is absolutionism. That means when somebody refuses to see anything that they've done, refuses to see anything that anybody else does, and sees one thing, one action, etc., as absolute fucking evil. And it's always that, and all of them are like that. And you know, anybody who's been in a relationship has been in contact with this demon, with this demonic pattern, with this psychological resonance structure, whatever you want to call it. It's that you never, or you always, when it's clearly not the fucking case. Everyone's just about been in a relationship with somebody. If you're one of the spiritual people who likes to think you can help other people, you know, like, oh, they're not quite as spiritually secure as I am, but they're really hot. I think I can change them, you know? Yeah, that's fucking stupid. I've done it too. And these people tend to get in moods, often triggered by their own actions, where they go and speak absolutely of things. And you know, even sci-fi geeks should be well aware of this concept. Only a Sith speaks in absolutes. Only someone whose mind is spiritually clouded speaks in absolute. And that is my definition of spiritually clouded. Because they lack a compassionate perspective. See, I was just on the Twitter sphere, or the Toogles. I was twattering. I was twat-waffling. Tweeting. I was being a twit. Yes, I was being a twit. And I was talking to this other twit. And they followed me, I follow them, you know, like they've liked several of my posts and shit, and I try to give people as many likes as possible. And I see these posts about so many white folks calling the police on people of color just to see them get shot. She can't stand the South because of the racism. It's weapons grade. It's just not normal levels of racism. Oh, there's just more racism in the South than anywhere. Well, clearly you never heard of fucking Rwanda, Bangladesh, New Guinea, Northeast China, the entire Middle East. The South, contrary to popular American belief, due to propaganda from Russia, and a lot of Islamic propaganda as well, by the way. And Satanist propaganda. These three fucking things all seem to work together a lot. According to their propaganda, slavery and racism seem to have been invented in America. When in fact there's probably more slaves on boats right now, on boats being shipped to and from places, mostly in the Indo-Pacific region, than we ever had in America. Well, at least at one time. Literally tens and tens of thousands on boats, just crammed in to fucking tanker-sized boats, being shipped to and from different fucking places right now. slavery is a fucking horrible thing. But it didn't end here. And there's a lot of foreign influence and foreign assistance regarding the neo-fascist movements in this country. Just like there's a lot of foreign influence and foreign assistance in the far-left, extreme, anti-authoritarian, anti-establishment, anti-authority, not authoritarian, but just anti-authority, basically anarchist movements, and basically black power organizations that aren't like equal power. It's not like they sell them in the movies. You're not talking about something responsible when you're talking about frying cops like bacon. And even the racial advancement groups that have within their mandate rules of governing and responsibility, they have still been prone to communistic Kremlin influence. And one might think this is easy or difficult, excuse me. One might think this is a physical task that can be accomplished, or some sort of McCarthyite inquisition that needs to go on to solve this problem. No. It's a matter of being armed with the truth. That's it. It's a matter of not having your mind clouded so that you can wield the truth to decloud the minds of others. Now, suffice to say that when someone is speaking in absolutes, the first thing you need to do is make sure that you don't speak in absolutes back to them. All you can do is try to patiently point out reason. And you will thus make a quick determination on whether or not this person is willing to hear reason. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to social media, or when it comes to a social situation that is witnessed by others, it's not necessary to win the argument against the absolutionist, only to make people see what viewpoint causes a lack of reason, what viewpoint is extreme and unreasonable. And all I can say is facts are your friend. Because when people say something as ignorant as in the South, they can't stand the South because of all the racism there, it's weapons grade, you need to remind them that it's been quite some time since there was any significant ethnic cleansing here in the South. And in fact, the last time there was anything remotely significant as far as property destruction and loss of life, it was the Northern Army coming through this very area where I sit now, Slaughter, Louisiana. Then you got to go to struggles between certain groups of Americans and Native American tribes. See how nuanced that is? Oh, Americans used to just fucking kill Indians? No. were many founding fathers and many different entire state governing structures that were completely involved and friends and allied with the native populations. Yeah. There's always going to be somebody to fuck it up for everyone. But speaking in absolutes, only serves your enemies. And I tell you what, if the West didn't settle America, who do you think would have? If the West didn't settle America, there wouldn't be any West anymore. And you'd still have slavery, only there'd be more of it. There would be no one fighting it. You see, because we had visionary founding fathers in this country that led people to want for something better, we ended slavery and then joined with other countries that had ended slavery. Many of them right around the same time, many of them centuries before. None of them never allowed it. And every race, every color you can think of, participates in slavery. Just like every race, every color you can think of, participates in America and participates in the struggle against slavery that America and NATO combat on a daily basis. That's why people who like slavery don't like NATO. There's basically two ways this can go. Maybe three. Maybe. See, one is people keep speaking in absolutionists' terms and bashing each other with generalizations, and even on the left when they bash people in the South and they bash Christians and they bash white people, for fuck's sake. When you bash white people, or even when you say so many white people, imagine if anybody started a sentence with so many black people. You're no better than a fucking Trumpist. You're just as racist as they are. Just like, don't tell me I can't say the word nigga. I'm from the hood, okay? You gonna tell me I can't say it because I look white to you? That's pretty fucking racist if you ask me. I'm probably twice the nigga most of the black people you met. But I will say this. My credit is improving. So anyway. What's this other thing this girl said? She's one of them retweeters, you know? Just retweet and retweet and retweeting over and over again, all this kind of shit. I'll make a little comment about it. Odd time of day for someone to be awake, isn't it? Well, not in Russia. You see, there's a lot of bots and trolls and programmed, propagandized Americans that simply want to continue to perpetuate this problem that we have. And they need to be called out on their shit. Now, YouTube once had the contention that it was their economic model. It was in the best interest of their shareholders to promote extreme viewpoints. That all ended when I came along. For some reason, my calling out of extreme viewpoints is too extreme for YouTube. Something I'm going to make sure that they answer for. But of course, I'm always waiting for apologies. That doctor that was gunned down in Houston was a friend of my aunt. Oh, and the duck boat thing. It's just like the fucking Kennedy assassination, man. Like, why can't our government just tell us the fucking truth about stuff? Why can't the news just tell us the truth about stuff? Why do they think they gotta fucking filter shit from us? There were 2 duck boats out on the water that day. 2 of them. If you go find the full video, you can see it for yourself. One was apparently much more heavily loaded. And I think the basis for comparison for what went wrong should be obvious and, might as well be a topic of open discussion. When a storm warning is coming, they should have a fucking lower limit on the amount of passengers inside or something. Or, not take it for granted that they're gonna the gusts aren't going to be too high, and if there's a storm warning, take them the fuck off the water. This wasn't some kind of lone bad decision the way they're painting it. If there were 2 duck boats on the water in that storm, from the view of that one cell phone, how many more duck boats were on the water during that storm warning? But not one report that I saw mentions that there was another duck boat on the water. And that's the reason why you have Alex Jones. That's the reason why you have fucking conspiracy theorists. You know, it's like, who are you to decide that that's not necessary for me to know? Who are the American citizens in our government who think they have the right to decide whether we know that Lee Harvey Oswald was working with the Russians? And I'm sorry. Those fucking shots were damn near impossible. I've been shooting my whole life. And I'm a damn good shot. No. Especially not with the weapon he was using. Gonna make that fucking shot with a bolt action rifle. The fucking rifle isn't even that accurate. Anyway. CIA Acting Inspector General is stepping down. That's a good sign. Excuse me. Leader of the free world is offensive. I'm sorry, but, you know, anybody who doesn't know from history that the West is what it is and the West survived because of America seems like a fucking simpleton to me. And speaking of simpletons, it's pretty much the far left morons and sort of an operative of the irresponsibility of so-called mainstream newscasts. That we have this whole idea floating around that an interpreter should testify. While I can understand the sentiment and the need for transparency, there is also a need for the ability to conduct diplomacy in the future. And an interpreter is not someone who should be interrogated. If anyone should be interrogated, it's the person that we've allowed to take on the responsibility executing the office of President of the United States. We have, as citizens, the right and responsibility to hold all of our elected officials accountable. And that doesn't just mean waiting to vote them out as they continue to commit crimes. Because, first and foremost, it is the foundational principle of America that no one is above the law. Because we do not suffer tyrants. Last I fucking checked, anyways. If you're a Republican who supports Trump and you have a "Don't Tread on Me" flag, what I want you to do is take the flag and wrap it tightly around the pole. And then sit it about 4 feet off the ground and jump on top. Because you can take that "Don't Tread on Me" flag and cram it up your ass. The Cohen recording might be illegal. Of course it's illegal. Nobody fucking cares. It's still admissible. EPA's coal deregulation could poison the cleanest drinking water. Yep. Coal is an incredibly bad thing. The whole process involved, it's very destructive. And I would think by now we would have found a way to make it more efficient. Because there certainly are ways to get rid of that waste and reuse the byproducts to make even more energy. And it's just yeah, it's what I was talking about earlier, about the efficiency of our civilization. We have a lot of technology, but we don't have efficiency as a society because we are set against each other on a constant basis as a society. Nobody can have a good idea without somebody trolling them, knowing that it's a good idea, and saying it's a bad one. Story of my fucking life. Shh, don't talk about it. What the fuck, man? This is all incredibly old. the news of the day. Is this hostage incident at Los Angeles or Silver Lake? So I guess I'll put on this CNN coverage for anybody who wants to know what the hell happened earlier.
Following breaking news out of Los Angeles, where a gunman is barricaded inside a Trader Joe's grocery store, possibly with hostages, an unknown number of people, according to the LAPD. Police say that earlier the suspect, who was in his late teens, shot his grandmother and another female in what they're calling a domestic dispute. He then allegedly fled in his grandmother's car with that second female injured in that car. A police chase ensued, which ended at this Trader Joe's with the suspect fleeing on foot and into the store after crashing, we understand, into a pole. A witness says that the suspect exchanged gunfire with the police. We've been watching a heavy police presence growing on that scene for a number of hours now. We've also seen several people climbing through a side window and down on a chain ladder. We've also learned that at least one woman has been taken to the hospital. The authorities say that she's in stable condition, but police say that she was removed from a vehicle, not the store. I want to go back to our national correspondent Miguel Marquez, who is on the scene with an eyewitness. We understand, Miguel, you have just spoken with someone who actually lowered that ladder out of the window that people have been using to escape.
We have an employee here. I spoke to another employee earlier that said that the police were not just in pursuit, they were in hot pursuit. They were literally right on this individual. There was the crash in the parking lot. That individual fired 2 shots at the police. Police returned fire. Nobody hit in that. He went right by a security guard at the front door and into the store. That's when people started pouring out, and that's where Sean Geraci comes in. You were in that store, at the back of the store. What did you hear? What did you see?
I was in the back storage room. I heard people screaming and heard a number of gunshots. I looked out the batwing doors from our storage room out onto the sales floor and saw both employees and crew members running up the aisles and knew that it was an active shooter situation.
How many, well, one, quick thinking on your part, do you train for this? Is this something that you keep in the back of your mind?
I think it's just an unfortunate state of today that, I'm always trying to just be cognizant of exits and emergency ways out.
Very busy Trader Joe's on a Saturday. What is it, 6,000, 7,000?
I play a shit ton of Call of Duty, so I was fucking ready, man.
Feet or so, square feet in there. How many employees, how many people would have been in that store at the time?
I'm not sure. I'll answer. I know our evening closing shift would have been on staff. As far as how many people there were, I don't know, and I can't even estimate how many customers there were in the store.
How many employees, though, would be at the evening staff? Right? Dozens?
Easily dozens. So yes.
And then what happened? People running. What did you do then?
I wasn't sure if I had a viable exit on the ground floor, so I proceeded upstairs. We were even upstairs storage space. I moved through the storage space to a back, kind of a break room that we have, where we have an emergency ladder. Grabbed the emergency ladder. Proceeded even further back to a back storage area. I grabbed a couple of my coworkers, brought them back as well. I barricaded the hallway as best I could, grabbed a weapon, and put the ladder out the window, and after getting the attention of a SWAT officer, was able to indicate wanted to go out the ladder. He gave me a thumbs up, and I went down the ladder, held the ladder, was able to get 3 of my other coworkers to follow me out.
And so you were getting people up, were you bringing people up with you as well as trying to barricade wherever you guys were?
There was one person coming down the stairs as I was going up. I grabbed her. There was another person back in the break room. I grabbed her. There were additional people upstairs already. And just tried to figure a way out.
Employees gathering just a few hundred feet from where we are. Do you know if all employees are accounted for?
I do not, sir. I do not.
Do you know how many are missing right now?
I do not.
Is this store procedure that in a situation like this, that this is the place that you would gather?
We do have, in the event of a fire or in the event of an earthquake, we do have places that we go, particularly up, I don't want to say where exactly, but obviously this situation compromised that plan, and we had to go to different spots.
You seem remarkably cool and calm and with it. What is going through your head though right now?
I'm just concerned about my other coworkers who are not accounted for right now. I'm grateful I was able to find a way out.
Because my name is Sean and I'm a fucking badass.
We're responsible for getting
This
far
nigga
more
here.
people out, and they should be commended for that.
Did you ever see the gunman?
I did not, sir.
And I mean, how long have you worked for Trader Joe's?
About 3 years.
And this is a store.
That's one thing you might notice about me. I only call other white people niggas.
Shop at this store. This is a place that I know well. That it's a very friendly environment. It must be very difficult. You've stayed at this store the entire 3 years?
No, I just,
What is this store like? What is the atmosphere like here?
it's a very busy store. Without question, the busiest store I've worked at. We have a very large crew, a lot of customers. I'm grateful that.
So I can say, that guy right there, that's my
Sunday's the busiest day of
nigga.
the
Okay.
week, and if it occurred on a Sunday,
I understand.
much more.
No matter how much I love,
All right, Sean, thank you
Terry.
very much.
I ain't
Very
never
nice
gonna
to
say
meet you.
that shit to him.
Very good luck to you. That was the unbelievably calm, cool, and collected Sean.
He probably bust out laughing, but
Grattersea, who
I
was
would
in
feel
the
bad.
store when all of this happened and helped
Right,
people escape.
right.
Just incredible stories. Not much has changed here. I can tell you right now that the police seem to be in the
Even
same
though I meant it
position
in a
that
whole
they
different
were
way.
with just the same amount of cars on this what would otherwise be a very busy street in Los
Yeah.
Angeles, trying to resolve this hostage or this barricade and possibly hostage situation as well. Alex?
Thank you, Miguel Marquez, right there on the scene. Yes, going on 6:30 there in LA, and as Miguel
You can't
noted,
get me
a
back with
very
my
calm
cracker,
and
you know?
collected
He ain't a
store
fucking
employee.
parrot.
We've been watching aerial video for the last few hours of people coming out of that side window down that ladder to a man who I've been assuming was a police officer, but it was that store employee who was helping his fellow staffers get out of that store. As the
That dude there is a
inside.
straight
The
mercenary.
big question that we've been trying to answer is how many people are still inside the store
I
with
bet
that
you he's done a
barricaded
couple
gunman?
of
By definition, I was
federal
being told a short time
contracts.
ago, that makes them hostages. We don't know where
knows
they
how
are hiding.
to
If they are hiding, we
operate
don't
under
know
pressure.
whether they are with the gunman. I want to go back to Charles Ramsey, a former police chief. Charles, is there any way to figure out how many people are inside that store beyond just asking the gunman? Is there any other way to get a sense of numbers so that they can then make the calculus as to when to go in if they have to?
No, I mean, the only thing the gunman can tell you is who he actually has in his sights right now. I would imagine that you very well could have some people that were hiding at various locations within the store. So you're not going to get an exact number at this point in time. But one thing is certain, you have other people that are still in the store. The question is...
All right, we just lost Charles there. I want to go to Art Broderick. Art, I was trying to ask you earlier, should we take away anything from the fact that the gunman went inside, as he fled inside after crashing his car, he didn't shoot anybody? He was... All right, 1 second. We're getting new video from the scene, more aerial pictures from our affiliates. You can see there a heavily armed vehicle right outside. This is the closest that we have seen the police to this Trader Joe's. So they have moved that armored vehicle up to the front entrance of the Trader Joe's. You can see the heavily armed officers with their... Art Broderick, if you're still there, Can we learn anything from the fact that he didn't shoot people on the way in? This is not someone who's on a rampage. This is not someone who premeditated this, who pre-calculated this. This is someone who probably, I would imagine, especially since we know that he's in his teens, is really freaking out right now, given what he knows about the police presence, which is probably much bigger.
That is a big point, because he's not on a rampage and just killing people randomly. So what we know is that and this is a big advantage for the hostage negotiators, they can use this actual motive for their purposes of trying to talk them out of this situation. Now, when you're talking about the SWAT team, the SWAT team is going to contain the inner perimeter. And while the negotiators are talking, the SWAT team is going to try to shrink that perimeter as close as they can to the actual location of where that individual is held up with 1 or 2 or 3 hostages. We don't really know how many he's got. Now, they also might have the capability of actually getting to some of the video that's inside the store. I'm assuming, all stores now, especially Trader Joe's, they generally have video cameras around, and there is a possibility.
Hey, Art, I've got to interrupt you again. I'm sorry. What we're looking at here is aerial images of the police officers who have surrounded someone who it looks like they've taken someone into custody. Now, we've seen other people coming out. They have not been held like this. They've been taken away, not in handcuffs. It looks like this is someone who has his face up against the wall, his back to the police officers, in handcuffs, wearing a black tank top, it looks like. As I noted just moments earlier, we're gonna head to Miguel Marquez, who is standing right there at the police perimeter. Miguel, what can you see?
Well, it sounds like what you are seeing from the air. I can't see it from here on the ground, but I'm hearing at least from some officials that it appears that he has surrendered. It is not clear that anyone else has been injured or who else is in there with him, but it does appear at this point that whoever has been holed up in that Trader Joe's has surrendered and is either in the custody or shortly will be in the custody of the Los Angeles Police Department. Just a very, very tense Saturday afternoon here in Los Angeles.
In Silver Lake. Yeah, Miguel, actually what we can see, again, these are from aerial pictures, is someone who is very clearly in custody, who is being led away by the police officers. Now, what we know about the suspect is that he is a young African-American man in his late teens, so a boy, who carried out a shooting. He shot his grandmother and another young woman in Hollywood, which is about 5 miles from this Trader Joe's, before fleeing in his grandmother's car and then running into a post outside this Trader Joe's, jumping out of the car, firing at officers who were in pursuit, and then he went inside and barricaded himself inside that Trader Joe's. We first started getting reports of this just over 2 hours ago, almost 2.5 hours ago. This may be the end of this standoff, of this hostage situation.
Yeah, I forgot I was streaming. Actually got distracted by a Twitter troll. See, I'm a marine biologist, engineer, architect, IT pro, strategic consultant, race car builder and driver, singer, composer, sculptor, painter, musician, actor, philosopher, counterintelligence progenitor, martial artist, 6'3", happily married and sexy as hell. Give it up already. Sound like a good response? I think it's a good response. Just, to all the trolls. So hard to decide on just the right meme to respond to a troll. And I've already used the here's to you dumbass with Q on there. Otherwise that wouldn't be quite appropriate. I also, I like the fact that I have all the talents to back up this statement while managing to waste a whole lot of their time while they, get all butthurt and try to, he really can't be on those things. I don't have a piece of paper saying I'm into those things. I just have the accomplishments to back up the fact that I am those things. Sissy. Don't troll me, motherfucker. I troll back. So, speaking of the wonderful land of memory, to make up for my lackadaisical attitude on this live stream, I will now attempt to entertain you with some memes that I made just a little while ago. But first, I'll show you the sissy meme for anybody who hasn't seen it. This is the sissy meme with a quote from my stepdad, who was the owner of that dog. You clearly have me mistaken for somebody who gives a shit. But today, I was watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'll go ahead and re-stomp the groin here. Cardassian, Trump memes, and more. No, I don't mean Kardashian. I mean Cardassian. So anyways, I think I'm going to just go ahead and start from left to right here. So I'll have to decide which one is the funniest. Remember Garrick? Oh yes. Garrick from Deep Space Nine. I was watching The Next Generation earlier, but it was the one where Picard gets held prisoner by the Cardassian, what was his name? Gull something. Gullwing, But Hillary. But I'm just a tailor. But I'm just a simple campaign manager. Oh yeah, it looks just like Paul Manafort, doesn't it? It looks just like Paul Manafort. Or it looks a little bit like Carter Page. Carter Page be like, I'm just a lizard with a ladder. And if you haven't heard that previous analogy from yours truly, just think about it for a second. Trump is the dodo. Oh, I sail the sail of the seven seas, carry up, and a bottle of tea. Well, I never do a thing about the weather. Never does a thing for me. That guy. Yeah. That's Trump. And he comes across the lizard with the ladder, and he says, you know, you've got just the connections I need. And Carter Page says, I do? And Trump says, you're going to help me make America great again. And Carter Page says, I am? And then Trump looks over at Putin. I say there, fellow, do you have a match? Still 0 people watching. Very interesting. I just can't win no matter how much my old school sci-fi memes are. How funny. Whatever. Much. But by wood, I mean, I'm just a simple trader. I mean, tailor. Damn it. So this concludes my little spree of memes that I made. I'm still rather partial to this one. I think that's pretty fucking hilarious right there. And it's not simply watch the Lost Begotten channel. Yeah, because sometimes I forget I'm making a video. But I mean, how many people could fucking... Excuse me. How many people can really do this? I mean, when you think about it in terms of just providing content, the fact of the matter is I'm not that difficult to listen to. It's not that noisy in here. My voice resonates pretty well at a low noise level. Excuse me, most of the time, except for when I'm having little coffee burps. And the topics I discuss are relevant to the day. The insight I give is, whether you agree with it or not, unique. And as far as my ability to provide content without any form of notes, any talking points, I have not had for the last several broadcasts anything around me to read at all. Fish tank TV that you're looking at. That's it. That's what I'm looking at. But all these powerful lectures, all these inarguable insights that I give, they don't even get a chance to fall on deaf ears, thanks to YouTube. And all they can accuse me of being guilty of is trying to defend my country. I look forward to seeing them in court, even if I'm the defendant. Because, oh boy, get ready for a counterclaim. It has been established as precedent, time and time again, that there's such a thing as intentionally driving someone fucking crazy. I don't imagine I would be in this state of constant hypertension if it wasn't for the interference on the part of YouTube with my First Amendment right. Fuck, I would have quit smoking by now. But you see, one of the reasons why I smoke so much on video is because of how much stress this puts me under. Is knowing how many people every single day are allowed an audience while I am not. And everything they spew is nonsense while I do not. I speak nothing but truth to the best of my ability. and I may make mistakes here and there, but there's a unique level of insight found on this channel that's found nowhere else. But what it does is it ceases the perpetuation of this divide and conquer strategy. See, you can't let my channel get popular without all these other channels seeming like a bunch of idiots, seeming like brainwashing, because they are. But while YouTube likes to pretend somehow that their financial bottom line is best served by first relying completely on, basically their whole excuse for having such divisive content, including Islamic State propaganda, for fuck's sake, was because their algorithm was it happened to be geared for that, for profit reasons. Oh, and now they're doing the opposite of that, and they're saying that's for profit reasons. As if nobody had a fucking clue that far left and far right crazy conspiracy theory promotion was a bad idea beforehand. Oh yeah, saying aliens control the United States government. That's a wonderful idea. That's perfectly marketable. Oh yeah, let me see the fucking TV show that gets bought saying that after 9/11. And now we got a fucking Trump in the White House that was bandwagoning in every different fucking way with the people who said 9/11 was an inside job. You got people getting much better views than me saying 9/11 was Trump. But none of those videos mention Russia and Alex Jones. Isn't that funny? Let me just make a completely hypothetical argument. And don't take this as any actual pretext to any imminent actions on my part. But how would a federal agent feel arresting someone who had been driven to a violent illegal action when what drove them there was an informed sense of patriotism? When what drove them there was their First Amendment speech right being denied to them because they knew things that were in favor of the United States government, because they knew things that were in favor of our country. They knew things that were against our enemies. And that very same investigative body who made it impossible, or allowed it to be made impossible, for me to have my First Amendment right, or to make a living based on my ability to entertain and provide viewpoints, drove me to that point, and then has to take me away for the consequences of their actions, and for my sense of patriotism. Because that's all I'd be guilty of. They would be more guilty than me. They would be more guilty than XYZ. I'm sure there's thousands of people feeling like this right now, and that's why I bring it up. I'm going to wait until, I need a retirement plan in my old age. And if shit ain't fixed by then, it's going to be an old man in jail. That's just mostly a joke. But you know what? There's obviously a lot of people without very good judgment out there. And there's a lot of people with very good judgment out there. And very good training out there. And very limited patience out there. And they feel the same fucking way I do. They haven't gotten on YouTube. They haven't made it their responsibility to spread the truth. But they're looking at a fucking traitor. A foreign puppet. A Confederate collusionary dictator. And are you really? Is the Secret Service really going to end the lives of patriotic American citizens because they have a problem with an enemy of the state having the unordained authority to dismantle our state? That's what he's fucking doing. Oh, he's polishing the right sets of balls while he flushes all of us like turds down a fucking toilet. See, I'm quite marveling at the situation here. I'm quite marveling at the fact that I can be so certain somebody is a Russian troll that I can just directly threaten their life. But no attention is drawn to it because of the implicit guilt on behalf of YouTube. It's pretty obvious that the only reason why I say these things is simply to see if YouTube is willing to get the FBI involved. I keep testing. And they keep resisting. Like they've got something to hide. See, I just want YouTube to be YouTube. Fucking broadcast yourself. They're trying to cover their own ass by turning into a fucking TV company now. After being instrumental in the destruction of mankind. Cheers. We put a lot of stock into numbers. We make a lot of very absolutionist arguments. Absolutionist arguments based on relatively little data. Based on largely what we've told and very little of what we've found out for ourselves, like the idea that we have a larger percentage of our population in prison than any other country in the world. That's just simply not true. The idea that Russia, for instance, does not simply move large groups of people to, basically slave camps, which are, worse than prisons, gulags. People just wind up unaccounted for, even forced into military service at a hell of a lot higher rate than people go to jail in America. And our numbers are actually inflated, while their numbers are underinflated. That's just fine by everybody. Keep bashing America and pretending like every other country in the world is just better than us. I think people just need to have a little bit of civic responsibility, and learn how to give constructive criticism. And that includes not just when it comes to topics of national interest, but between political parties. I mean, it's not hard to envision a two-party system that actually gets shit done. These people have this kind of viewpoint, these people have this kind of viewpoint. But when one side starts collaborating with the enemy of our country, and then their viewpoints are based upon this cooperative political strategy that is essentially meant to destroy America, oh, fucking Houston, we've got a problem. And that's what we've got going on now. That's what we've had going on since the mid-90s. Anyways, to whoever watches this in the future, since nobody's fucking watching now, thanks for watching. Click the like button. Peace.
two of the activists who I mentioned earlier.
Who the fuck is watching? Wait, no. Who's coming now? After an hour and 42 minutes, after I'm just about to leave, who's here? Say something. You just missed all the interesting shit. And now you're coming in here? It's just weird, man. It's just weird. So the person is here now. For no reason. It's a person. I can't. Wait. Right. Which is, you know, a witch that buries themselves between two pieces of bread or some sand or something. Cat got your tongue? Or fingers? Several cats get your fingers? Yeah, I don't think one cat could really get all of your fingers. I'm glad you find this entertaining. So, there's really three choices here. A regular or an unleaded. I mean, wait, no. A regular or like a scheduled troll botting, or the new friend I made on Twitter. Whoever you are, do you know what this does? Eh? Oh well, whatever. You wanna watch some fucking news? We can watch some fucking news. Cause this looks pretty damn interesting.
Arrested and died in custody in 2009. Severe beatings and mistreatment allegations are blamed for his death. Magnitsky allegedly found tax officials and police officers were bilking citizens out of millions of dollars. Authorities dropped the investigation into his death, but his name lives on in the U.S. Magnitsky Act, which severely sanctions nearly 4 dozen Russian officials and businessmen with connections to Vladimir Putin. Meanwhile, in Moscow, a top Putin critic and political rival, Boris Nemtsov, was gunned down within sight of the Kremlin in early 2015. Nemtsov was once seen as a successor to Boris Yeltsin, later documenting corruption and abuse of power in the Russian government.
Okay, joining us now, the Atlantic Council's Dan Fried.
And he was, at the time, just about to make a big freaking presentation regarding Vladimir Putin's illicit actions in Ukraine, and also to do with something to do with the gas pipeline bullshit, which I don't remember well enough to retort.
All right, Dan, Allie just went through the list, and that did not include attempted killings. There's some political figures, but there is a long list of businessmen. Now, obviously, none have been directly traced back to Vladimir Putin, you know, similar to mob bosses. You can't often get to
or
the
the
top.
thousands that have died in Ukraine.
So many Russians critical of Vladimir Putin seem to end up dead. And a parallel you could draw, loads of companies here don't do business, especially money managers, in Russia because they simply don't trust their safety and the rule of law?
I think the reason why is pretty clear. Putin's system is a system based on fear, and it is fear designed to silence people so he can...
No, but really, who the fuck is up at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Get on with
on
the
a Sunday
business of looting the country.
I don't sleep.
And providing wealth for his immediate associates. Putinism is a kleptocracy. It relies on keeping democracy on the defensive and weak if he can, on intimidating his neighbors, and spiced up with the occasional murder. This is the person we have to deal with.
Fox News' Chris Wallace spoke to Vladimir Putin yesterday and asked him about this. Let's listen.
Why is it that so many of the people that oppose Vladimir Putin end up dead or close to it?
Well, first of all of us have plenty of political rivals. I'm pretty sure President Trump has plenty of political rivals.
But they don't end up dead.
Not always. Well, haven't presidents been killed in the United States? Have you forgotten about it? Well, has Kennedy been killed in Russia or in the United States? Mr. King, what happens in the clashes between police and civil society and several ethnic groups? Well, that's something that happens on the U.S. soil. All of us have our own set of domestic problems.
Wow, that's interesting. He's comparing alleged state-sponsored killings of rivals with the deaths of President Kennedy and Martin Luther King or civil unrest. But these are uniquely different things.
Well, this is standard Soviet communist debating tactics. It's no surprise for those of us old enough to remember the way Moscow used to behave. This is typical,
I'm not old enough to
there's
remember,
no
but I still
reason to
remember.
follow Putin down his rabbit hole of denial and lies. We know what Putin is. The Russians who are aware know what Putin is, and we need to base our policies accordingly and stop romanticizing the man or trying to rub up against him, for God's sakes.
Okay, well, we say that we know who Russian President Vladimir Putin is, but the question is, does the president, putting him on the same platform, on the same playing field, when the leader of Russia is not just not our ally, he's not even our competitor. If you think about what a weak, feeble nation they are compared to the United States, especially from an economic perspective. But I want to talk about how President Trump emulates Putin, especially when it comes to the press.